As hard as it is to imagine nowadays, there was a time when the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles weren't pop culture giants. Before the cartoon, and the second cartoon, and the third cartoon, and the fourth. Before the movies, before the toys, before the video games, and bed sheets and bubble bath, there were two dudes. Yeah, that's right, two dudes. Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird. The duo named their fledgling comic book company Mirage Studios, because there was no company and there was no studio. Just two dudes living in a house in Dover, New Hampshire. The big moment came in November 1983. The pair were working on another project entirely when Eastman turned in a doodle that would prove to be the mother of all doodles. It was a Ninja Turtle, a short, stumpy, masked, nunchuck-wielding character that didn't have an origin story or even a name yet. It was just funny and interesting. So Laird drew a Ninja Turtle of his own, adding the Teenage Mutant part. Neither sketch looks much like what the Turtles eventually became, but the idea had legs, especially when inspiration struck Eastman again, this time while doing the dishes. Up to his elbows in suds, he was suddenly impressed by the look and feel of a cheese grater. Your average, run-of-the-mill metal cheese grater, I kid you not, and came up with the idea of the Shredder, who would become the Turtles' arch nemesis. The Turtles, of course, needed a master, a guide, a wise old figure to help them navigate their battle against the Shredder. Splinter was what the pair came up with, no doubt influenced by the character of Yoda, who just recently made his second screen appearance in Return of the Jedi. The original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comic book, that first issue, is still a beauty. It vibrates with energy. It's raw but polished, ridiculous but deliberate and genuine. It's a classic. The authors pull no punches, and neither do their creations. At the risk of sounding too much like a fanboy, the Turtles' debut is bad ass. It starts off in a trash-strewn alley. Here they are, Leonardo, Donatello, Michelangelo, and Raphael, in print for the first time in all their glory, as they face off against the Purple Dragons, the toughest street gang on the East Side. You can already forget about the Ninja Turtles cartoon. There are no goofy, bumbling henchmen here, no Bebop and Rocksteady, no cowabungas. Instead, a street gang, the Purple Dragons, and they're packing heat. The lead goon says, "You're dead, freaks. Nobody trespasses on Purple Dragon turf and gets away with it, especially when they're wearing stupid turtle costumes." The reply comes in a 2-page splash. He's wrong. We're not wearing costumes. There they are again, the Turtles, in beautiful, stark black and white, severe, unalloyed. Every line, every letter is inked with a sure hand. The art style, exuberant as it is, never falters, never compromises. You can tell this was a labor of love. There's no half-assing things here. The Turtles attack. As Leonardo, the narrator, states, these guys are young, but they're no rookies. They've been around, toughened by the streets. They've fought and beat everything on two legs in this area, except us. The punks take a pounding, even with artillery on their side. The last of them regroup in a panic. Who are these guys? Dunno, some kind of freaks. But even freaks can bleed. Cut 'em! Leonardo looms, and the switchblades go flying. Turtles, 1. Purple Dragons, 0. Next, the cops show up, and the Turtles have to beat feet back to their hideout. They climb down the nearest manhole and disappear before the cops get a good look. We strike hard and fade away into the night. It's amazing to see how much of the mythos of the Ninja Turtles was in place from the beginning, from the very first issue. As different as these turtles are from their later cartoon counterparts, they're also the same. Where do they live? In the sewers, right from the start. And who guides them in their training, speaking words of wisdom and encouragement? Splinter. a giant talking rat. Naturally. The turtles gather round, and Splinter, in a grave tone, informs them that tonight is the night. Tonight, after their success against the Purple Dragons, they'll go on the mission he's been training them for the past 13 years. And thus, Splinter recounts the origins of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Again, a familiar enough tale for anyone with even a passing knowledge of the franchise. In fact, this particular tale has been told so many times in cartoons, in movies, in books, and in other comics that reading it here is almost a religious experience. It's like tracing the source of a sacred text, like finding a rough draft of Hamlet in Shakespeare's handwriting. Here, right here, is the source material. Hundreds of hours of television programming, 7 feature films, millions of toys scattered across living rooms and attic spaces across the world. Where did it all come from? Right here. Splinter was once a pet rat, bought and cared for by a young ninja named Hamato Yoshi. Yoshi was a member of the famous Foot Clan, the most feared warriors and assassins in all of Japan. He and his rival, Oroku Nagi, competed for everything, including the affections of, yep, you guessed it, a beautiful young woman. At the bottom of every tragic story, I swear to God, there's a piece of tale. Anyway, this chick, Tang Shen, she loves only Hamato. One night, Oroku Nagi, in a jealous fit, attacks Tang Shen. Hamato Yoshi stumbles in, sees what's going on, and proceeds to pummel Nagi to death. What? You thought they were gonna work it out over cucumber sandwiches? Hamato and Shen flee to New York to escape the shame of the whole sordid affair. But what they don't count on is Nagi's brother, Oroku Saki. He grows up, moves to New York, becomes an expert assassin, drug smuggler, and arms runner called the Shredder, and kills Hamato and Shen in revenge. Man, there is a lot of murder packed into these 2.5 pages of backstory. The moral? Try never to lose your head over a piece of tail. Splinter, still a pet rat at this point but without an owner, wanders the city streets until one fateful day when the weirdest shit happens. To save a blind man from an oncoming truck, some guy jumps into the street. He's never named, but we know that it's Matt Murdock, none other than Daredevil, receiving the blow to the head that made him blind and gave him superpowers. The radioactive canister that bops him in the noggin bounces a few times and shatters a glass bowl containing 4 baby turtles. Down the drain they go, followed by Splinter, who notices the 4 turtles are covered in a green, glowing ooze. And yes, it's been called ooze since the get-go. The rest of the story is pretty much identical to how it was told in the original Ninja Turtles movie from 1990. Finally, Splinter gets to the point. He wants the turtles to avenge his beloved master Yoshi and kill the Shredder. That's right. Not give a stern talking to, not beat up, not maim. Kill. Splinter does not around. The turtles send Oroku Saki an invitation. The letter reads, "You have shamed and dishonored the name of your family by murdering Hamato Yoshi. Meet my 4 students for a duel to the death tomorrow night." Shredder, continuing that time-honored tradition of all good sociopaths, referring to himself in the third person, scrunches up the letter and vows to retaliate. And so the die is cast. Before you know it, it's the big night, the culmination of 20 years of sorrow, rivalry, murder, and revenge. The Shredder makes a suitably grand entrance, and we finally get a good look at him here on page 27, after a few teasing looks, fully armored and ready to duke it out, along with his Foot Clan warriors, who jump into battle against the turtles across 2 full, glorious pages of artwork. Not a speech bubble in sight. It's the energy and the intensity and the gravitas of this fight combined with the Turtles' charming origin story, that's been the wellspring of the entire franchise across so many mediums, that has powered so many iterations and interpretations and spin-offs. The spirit of the thing was always here. It didn't have to be manufactured in a boardroom by some toy company executive. It didn't have to be injected from without by a film or animation studio. It was here, in these pages, in plain black and white. Just two artists, two dudes, with a quirky idea and the drive to put pencil to paper. This right here, this is as important a piece of pop art as you're likely to find at the tail end of the 20th century. A snapshot, an action shot, in service of character and narrative. Before the toys, before the video games, before the oodles and oodles of memorabilia and popular ephemera, and yes, before the millions of dollars, there was this. There was story, there was family, there was passion, and there were 4 turtles battling an army of ninjas on the rooftops of New York City. Once the Foot Ninja are defeated, the turtles turn to the Shredder, battered, bruised, bloodied, but still standing. They pounce. First, Raphael. Then Donatello. Michelangelo. Then Leonardo. None of their attacks hit their mark. That's when Leo says, "He's too skilled for us to fight one-on-one, brothers. Remember Master Splinter's teachings. Use group tactics and hit from a distance." Finally, Shredder's defense is broken and the turtles gain the upper hand. Shredder makes one final lunge, and Leonardo plunges his sword through his chest, right up to the hilt. Holy shit. The Shredder, wounded, urges them to finish him off. Leonardo responds, "We turtles are not dogs without honor, unlike you, Oroku Saki." Leo then extends his sword and offers Shredder the chance to regain his honor by performing seppuku, a form of Japanese ritualistic suicide practiced by samurai. It involves cutting open your own abdomen so your guts spill out. The Shredder, predictably, isn't keen on the idea. He whips out a thermite grenade and, again, carrying on a long-standing tradition of sociopaths and psychopaths down the ages, says roughly the equivalent of, "Nuh-uh, if I'm going, I'm taking you with me." Donatello to the rescue. The Shredder tumbles off the rooftop, along with the grenade, and the turtles watch from above as the thing detonates, lighting up the sky. The book then quickly reaches its conclusion, with the turtles, tired and weary but alive, heading down to street level and finding a piece of the Shredder's metal armor lying there in the dirt. It seems the Shredder has been shredded. And so, yes, as I never tire of telling people, the Shredder dies in the very first issue of the original Ninja Turtles comic books. Oh, okay. So, again, in the grand tradition of sociopaths and psychopaths, yeah, you get the idea. The Shredder doesn't really stay dead. He makes a shocking return a couple of years later, in 1986, in Leonardo #1 and Ninja Turtles #10, and then again in the Return to New York story arc. But then he dies again, and stays dead. For good. At least in the original Mirage comic books. Speaking of the original Mirage books, they continued right up until August of 1993, by which point, obviously, the franchise was an international juggernaut, and another Ninja Turtles comic book series was competing for the eyeballs of America's youth, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Adventures, published by Archie Comics. The Turtles even met Archie at one point, in a clash of universes that boggles the mind. Lately, the Turtles have been hanging out with practically everyone. Ghostbusters, the Power Rangers, Batman, even the crew from Stranger Things. Nothing compares to that first issue, though, for sheer pop culture significance. The heroes it spawned are still fighting the good fight, 40 years later. Leonardo, Michelangelo, Donatello, Raphael, Shredder, Splinter, they're still with us, still as captivating as they were in 1984 when they blasted onto the comic book scene and sent seismic shockwaves throughout the industry. Ninja Turtles #1 isn't just a comic book. It isn't just a precious pop culture artifact. It's a bona fide piece of art. Don't take my word for it. Here's Ralph DiBernardo, who put together the comic book convention the Turtles debuted at, the Portsmouth Minicon, way back in 1984. He wrote, "If comics are truly the unique American art form, then Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is the culmination, the apex of that art form. What could be more American than pursuing a comic book dream from a one-bedroom apartment? What could be more American than having to beg and borrow only to become the kings of their media? What could be more American than two guys turning a dream into an empire?" Indeed, dudes and dudettes. Indeed.